Hello everyone. So a while back I made a video discussing all the things I disliked about Fallout 76, but since reaching level 50 in the game I decided it was time to delve a little deeper into things and elaborate on some further things that really burned me out when it came to Fallout 76. Now again, this is my disclaimer that I actually do like the game to an extent, and that this is more me talking about the things that I ended up seeing along the way in becoming level 50. But not that I hate the game, but that it definitely needs some improvement, and that these are some things that you should look out for if Fallout 76 is a game that you are going to play in the future, or that maybe you're already playing it, and that these are some of the issues that you might run across quite frequently the higher in level that you get. So there's been this massive debate on whether or not Fallout 76 presents lore or whether it presents a story. Lore is everywhere in Fallout 76, but whether you believe it or not, there is also a story. The gist of it all is that there are several communities/factions in the Wasteland who fell because of the same thing, the Scorch Plague. They all fell victim of the Scorch Beasts and their armies, and they all had their own way of beating the Scorched, but the one thing that they couldn't do was unite, and that's basically it. So what bothered me is that it takes so long to start to piece together that all of these factions fell because of the same thing. And it's frustrating when you realize that the reason we don't have any living people is because they were all too stubborn to get along and work together. Just like any quest where you look for survivors, it all boils down to one big ball of disappointment. And while I can't say it's a crappy story, I just feel like it felt short of what they should have done. If they had made the executive decision to leave out NPCs, for the lack of NPCs, I feel like the story should have been something epic to keep us occupied, and not so typical and flat. So I'll just admit right now that even before I reached level 50 in the game, I ran out of quests. I didn't even rush the game like some of my friends, and I was realizing really early that there really isn't that much content here. Besides the daily quests that you can repeat every single day, and the repeat events, the unique quests in this game are very few. Not to mention the main quest line is all over the place. The Responders leads to the Fire Breathers, which leads to the Raiders, which leads back to the Fire Breathers, and then it goes to the Free States, which leads to the Brotherhood of Steel. But does the Brotherhood of Steel lead to the Enclave? No. Does the factions, do they lead you to the Overseer's journey? Sometimes, but not always. Quests just feel randomly thrown together, and they just don't flow as much as I think they should. I keep getting the same quests over and over again to visit the places I've already been in the game, and around level 50 it just got boring. Even the final mission just feels like a headache, and most have already mentioned how launching the nuke and killing the Scorch Beast Queen doesn't even feel like endgame content. So if there's one thing I don't like about Fallout 76, it's that without a group of people to just go out and just do random stuff with, the game gets really boring really quick. Players have asked Bethesda for a roadmap as to what new content will be coming to Fallout 76, and when, because we do like the game and we want to keep playing it. But Bethesda has said their main concerns are with the actual bugs and glitches, and that those will get addressed before any new content is announced. Now there's still hope for the new survival mode coming and the vault raids, but we can only guess how much content that will actually add to the game. However, I will say that what quests are there in Fallout 76 are usually fun, and even though most are fetch quests, there are some unique ones thrown in there, such as this one, the Messenger.
Almost there, I believe. I heard you gave birth to a girl or a boy. Congratulations on your bundle of joy. Now please call your mother.
At lower levels in Fallout 76, I found myself running short on adhesive. But now, as queen of adhesive farming, I'm running short on screws. 80% of Fallout 76 just feels like farming, Whether you're making food and drink to keep your meters up, or whether you need scrap for your base, for armor repairs, or whatnot, you are farming. Scrap still weighs way too much, even with perks to make it weigh less, and the stash size is just way too low for the amount of junk they expect you to collect. And considering the fact that you can't scrap legendary gear, you either have to hope that a vendor has enough caps to pay you, or you have to find another player that is hopefully willing to buy it from you. It's not like you can pay some NPC to repair your things either, and other players, as mentioned before, well, they can be shady and steal your items if you ask them to do it for you. You're expected to have the supplies to repair your own weapons, repair your own armor, and repair your camp, but they don't give you the stash size to do that. Most of the time I'm only a few pounds away from being over-encumbered, and it limits my ability to fast travel. And fighting your way back to your camp from the other side of the map while your AP is constantly running out, that's just not fun gameplay. One of the scariest glitches I ever ran into was this one where my base was refusing to load properly, and it said that I had been level 1 and then level 5 all in the same moment when I was clearly way over level 5. All I can really say when it comes to the glitches is that Bethesda is still improving on these glitches, and I've seen the game stabilize dramatically since launch, but that's not to say that it's perfect. Bugs and glitches still run rampant in Fallout 76, and the biggest bugs are the graphics. Flickering landscapes, unrendered objects in plain view, base textures not loading and leaving you with this black ugly box to look at. It's your typical stroll through Fallout 76. It can only get better as we get more patches, but with how many issues still exist, I can only imagine how long those patches are going to take, and how big the sizes are going to be. And I guess the more I played Fallout 76, in comparison to a game like Skyrim, and even Fallout 4, for some odd reason, even though Fallout 76 is made on the same engine as those games, it feels graphically inferior. In photo mode, things get blurred, trees are not as crisp, landscapes look flat. I remember seeing the game at first and thinking it was stunning, but then play something like Skyrim Special Edition, and you can see how lazy Fallout 76 feels in comparison. So not only do the quests get stale after a while, but it finally dawned on me just how lackluster the combat is. Half the time the game is way too glitchy, and enemies I should be hitting don't take any damage. This means I'm using up supplies often to heal myself, or feed myself, or take away rads, because I'm being hit way more than I should. And the rest of the time, fighting comes down to finding that one spot where the enemy can't hit you while you slap them to death. The little variation in enemies is just meh. At first I didn't mind the fact that there were not raiders or hitmen or enclave to fight, but after seeing Scorched for the last 50 levels with a slight sprinkle of some ghouls, super mutants, and a Wendigo here and there, I really miss the variety that games like Fallout 3, New Vegas, and Fallout 4 brought to the table. That's not to say that there isn't a good collection of enemies, but the fact that they're all kind of just separated into their own little groups, and you have to go to specific areas just to find them. If you're not often in those areas, then you really are missing out on a huge part of that selection, and it does make the game feel like it's very, very limited. However, I will say that I really enjoy the cryptid fights. Finding things like the Mothman, the Flatwoods Monster, and occasionally something else along those lines like the Snallygaster is actually a pretty good time. The Grafton Monster included as well. These are rare spawns, unless you know exactly where to find them and exactly what quest to go to in order to fight them. So when you randomly encounter them out in the wild, it does add a little bit of flavor to this world that's pretty bland at the moment. But again, those instances are just so few and far in between that even when you do find them, the excitement is just so brief because you know that you're going back to just the same old thing over and over again. So believe it or not, but after all of this, my opinion is still that Fallout 76 is not a terrible game. It's not a great one, not even a good one, it's just a game. It functions, it's not my favorite, but if I have friends online, it's something I'll pick up from time to time. It's easy to get burnt out on this game, and it gets boring way too quickly. I don't mind things like microtransactions. In fact, I use the Atomic Shop because I think it's fun. I don't mind the lazy graphics, and because I don't PvP, I don't care about that system either. What bothers me is the lack of content mostly, and the lack of NPCs weighs on me the more I play this game. I still have my hopes for Fallout 76 though. I hope that in a year this game is not even recognizable from what it was at launch. I hope that it pulls a Sea of Thieves and basically makes itself into a completely different game that is fun to hop into and create new adventures with some buddies. But as it stands right now, it's not worth paying full price for, and it's still not something you want to sit down and play for weeks at a time. But anyways, what do you think of Fallout 76? Let me know in the comment section down below. Anyways, that's all I have for this video, so I will see you all in the next one.